Hi friends, it's Lauren Taylor. Thanks for joining me in my craft room today. Today is the Oh So Inspired collaboration hop where I get together with some of my crafty friends and we hop along as we share how we were inspired by another person's beautiful card creation. And this month we are inspired by Tracy from Not Afraid of Color on Instagram and YouTube. I went to her Instagram and I found this really cool card that had dragonflies on it, but I was really inspired by the purple and the colorful background from pink, orange, and yellow. It gave like a really cute, like pretty sunset vibe. So I'm going to use that to inspire my card today. The supplies that I'm going to be using are the Little Pet stamp set from the Sassy Club and the Retro Pet dies, also from the Sassy Club. And I'm going to go ahead and do my die cutting off camera. And while I'm getting those ready, I just wanted to remind you that this hop is a playlist hop here on YouTube. So you can just look down in my description box down below where you can not only find Tracy to follow her on Instagram, but also to see the playlist and everyone who's hopping along today. I hope you'll stop by and check everyone out. I'm really excited to see how everyone else was inspired by Tracy and get even more inspiration on this amazing hop. So I have my die cut pieces ready. I cut them out of some purple haze and bubblegum cardstock from Cardstock Warehouse. I did cut out the chain pieces out of a rainbow holographic cardstock, also from Cardstock Warehouse. And I've stamped my little pet screen on some white cardstock using Onyx Black VersaFine ink. And I'm going to make sure that my die cut will fit perfectly around the screen, which it will. So I'm just going to trim around it, just not doing a super great job, but leave about, I'd say, 1/8 of an inch around the screen so I have plenty of room to glue that screen to the back side of that pink frame. So now that I have that ready, I'm going to grab my glue and I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid adhesive around the edge of that opening of my scalloped frame that's going to go on my retro pet. And I stamped this in a black and white screen because the retro pet that I had growing up had that kind of like calculator computery screen where I guess technically not black and white, it was more like a greenishy and black, but I was trying to go for that type of screen on this retro pet. I'm ready to start gluing everything together. I'm going to start with adding my buttons. So I'm going to put my screen exactly where I am going to eventually glue it, and then I'm going to grab my liquid adhesive and a pickup tool to pick up each of the little ovals that are going to be the 3 buttons on the front of my pet. Once I get all of those in place, then I'll go ahead and glue the screen down. I did use kind of a thinner piece of white scrap cardstock to stamp the screen. So I did the screen and then I did "You Are Not Old, You're Just Retro," which I thought was kind of funny and cute. Or "You Are Retro," and then I'm going to add glue to the back. So I'm not going to go fully along the back because it is a little bit thinner of a cardstock. I'm just going to put most of the glue on the frame and edge of my stamped image where it's behind the cardstock. So I glued that right in place, and then I die cut this circle. It looks kind of like a loop, I guess you could say, a frame circle, and I'm gluing that to the top center of my little pet here because that's where I'm going to loop on my little chain. I die cut a smaller oval from the die set, and that's going to be another loop. I'm like double looping it so it looks like a chain, and then I will add these other pieces that I die cut from the holographic. That's going to be the kind of keychain part of my pet, but I'm going to worry about that later. So I did use purple cardstock and holographic cardstock that I felt was inspired by Tracy's project, but let's work on the background where like I said earlier in the video, drew most of my inspiration for this card. I'm bringing out Distress Oxides, and I'm going to start with Squeeze Lemonade on the bottom, followed by Carved Pumpkin in the middle, and I'm going to top it with Picked Raspberry, and I'm using my Trinity Stamps blending buddies that I have dedicated for oxides to blend these colors together. So once I get the yellow down, I moved on to the orange, and then I'm going to go in between the two brushes and the two colors and try to blend that so it looks like a bit of a better, like smoother transition. And then I did the same for the pink. So now the picked raspberry, and then I'll go back and forth between that and the orange until I'm happy with the blend, and it feels kind of like a desert sunset kind of vibe is what I was going for when I was blending these colors together. So while I am finishing up this blend, I just really want to say thank you to everyone who left kind comments about my grandmother. I was in Florida this last week for her funeral services. It was definitely difficult, but I'm so grateful that I had the extra time with her a couple weeks ago and that I was able to go to the services and be there with my aunt and uncle and my grandfather. Just really, really grateful. So, thank you again for all the wonderful, kind words. It really, truly meant a lot to me. So jumping back into the card, I did splatter on some water. I also splattered on some pink pearl watercolor and finally some Spellbinders white splatter. And I set that aside to dry. Once it was done drying, I grabbed my nested A2 rectangles and I die cut the second largest out of some more purple haze cardstock, and then the third largest I die cut my blended background. I'm going to do an easel card, like a little bit of a fun fold here. So I have a piece of cardstock that I have cut to 4¼ by 11 inches. And on the 11-inch side, I'm scoring it at 5½ and 2¾ I'll go ahead and grab my scoring tool. I really love the Trinity Stamps one. It's like an ergonomic tool. And I'm going to crease my card so it's in half, and then I'm going to crease the second one so it creates that little stand when you open and fold open the card. So now that my card piece is ready, let's start gluing our panels together. I'm going to use some adhesive on the back of my blended panel and glue that to the center of the purple panel. I'm going to grab my T-ruler so I can figure out where the halfway mark is on this backside of the purple panel. I'm going to grab a pencil mark and I'm going to make a little, or a pencil, so I can make a little mark just below the halfway line, and then I'm going to do one on the other side as well, so just using the ruler there. And then I'm going to grab my tape runner and I'm only going to add adhesive to the bottom portion underneath those pencil marks that I made. And then I'm going to glue this to the front of the card so that way it only glues to that bottom front half of my card base. Now we can work on adding our digital or our retro, well digital, but retro pet to the front of the card. I am going to glue the chain to the silver loop so it looks like the chain is going through the loops that I have here on my retro pet. So I started with just adding a little bit of glue to the back side, and I added one half of the chain, and then I added a little bit more glue to the where the chain meets the back side, and I glued a little more so they look kind of like devil horns, if I'm being honest here. They look a bit like horns, but I'm going to trim them down. It's going to be fine. So I'm going to add foam adhesive to the back of my retro pet, and I'll go ahead and adhere this to the front of my card. I'm going to do my best to get this centered. I totally could have grabbed my T-ruler again, but I forgot, and I just adhered it right to the center of the card base. And then I'm going to use liquid adhesive to glue the chains to the panel only. I didn't want to glue it obviously to the card base because then it wouldn't be an easel fold anymore. So just to the edge of that purple panel, and then I'll trim off the excess. Now that the front of my card is done, I want to move on to adding some fun details on the inside of my card. Well, after I fix my button that has escaped here. And I thought it would be fun to put a couple of the smaller characters from the Little Pets stamp set. I picked, again, two of the little ones, and I stamped and colored them in with alcohol markers. And I'm going to bring back out my VersaFine in Onyx Black to stamp my birthday sentiment on the inside of the card. So I have where I want my card easel to be, which is about, I think about 1/3 of the way up on the inside of the card. So I'm going to grab some thin foam adhesive. This is like 1 millimeter thin. I don't want it to be super thick, but I wanted these little characters to pop up enough to be able to hold my easel card open. So I added foam adhesive to the back of my 2 little characters here, and I'm gonna ink up my stamp, and I'm gonna stamp, forgive my head here, but happy birthday on the inside of the card. And then I'll peel off the foam off the back side of my little characters and glue them in place. I do have a magnet right now. My glass board is magnetic, so it's keeping the card open where I want it to be, and I'll use that as a guide to adhere down those 2 little characters. I'm doing my best to keep it even and look evenly spaced as well. So I put those 2, and I think that this card turned out super cute and fun. So here is the front and the outside of my easel card. I have my retro pet here on the front, and then when you open it, you see a couple of those cute little pets on the inside, and the sentiment again, you are not old, you are retro, and happy birthday on the inside. I hope that you like how I took inspiration from Tracy's card to create my background and use it as the colors for inspiration of my card today, using Sassy Club products and also a little late Fandom Friday mixed in as well. But I hope you'll hop along with us today. I can't wait to check out what everybody else made as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you'll click like, and if you're new here, I hope you'll subscribe and come back. As always, you can find everything I use down below in the description box. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye!